Hello everyone, this is Tim Barber from The Watch Inquiry, and welcome to a mini-series of podcasts that we recorded live in June this year at London Watch Week, which had its second outing across a number of venues, and much fun it was too. We were there to host a number of discussions and talks, the first of which was an interview by Chris with Davide Cerrato, the veteran watch executive who many of you will know has been the driving force at Tudor, then Montblanc for many years, but is now leading a hugely ambitious turnaround at Bremont, the British brand that of course is now owned by the Wall Street titan Bill Ackman. Just to say, there are a couple of audience questions at the end, which the microphones didn't pick up, so forgive me if I chime in again later to ventriloquize for the questioners. Also coming up in the series, we'll have panel discussions on changing tastes in vintage watch collecting and on the recreation of John Harrison's legendary H1C clock by the clockmaker Bob Bray and Pragnell Jewelers, which is one of the more extraordinary horological creations, I would say, of recent years. But for now, take it away, Chris and Davide.
All right, well, hello everyone and welcome to The Watch Inquiry with me, Chris Hall, recording live from London Watch Week, and I'm joined today by Davide Cerrato, CEO of Bremont. Welcome, Davide. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Buongiorno.
Buongiorno to you. Thank you so much. Now, we're going to be having a bit of a chat about all things Bremont, really. We're going to get into design, product, identity, really unpick the soul of the brand, I think, a little bit.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Thank you. I'm going to start with, I suppose, not the start, but maybe your start at Bremont. You came on board a few years ago now.
3 years, yeah.
3 years. What was it that drew you to the company? What did you see there that made you excited?
So, very interesting question. Let's start from a kind of cultural topic.
Okay.
I am an Anglophile and a true lover of everything British since ever. I don't know why. You know, I used to say since at least 10 years that I was morphing into a Brit, and voila, here I am. So, you know, I always loved the tradition, the tailoring. I'm Italian, so, you know, I love to dress up a little bit. And I have owned a Morgan for more than 15 years, a +4, and had so much fun. So
All right.
I'm also a crazy fisherman, fly fisherman. My father, grandfather, grandfather used to fish, and you know, fly fishing was born in UK. You know, I visited the oldest fly fishing club in London that was founded like 500 years ago, and still have memorabilia of reels and rods from the past, and a full collection of insects. You know, all the insects living in UK since day one. So I really love it.
So running a British watch company was really just an excuse to get closer to Morgan and good fishing.
Here we are. Exactly.
Okay.
So that was one point. The other point was I spent more than 20 years, actually almost 25 now of my life doing watches, and in a particular segment of watches that I call the premium segment, the tough one. You know, like a little bit in a kind of mid segment of the market, at Tudor, at Montblanc. And Bremont sits in the same segment. So, you know, his knowledge, first is understanding the brand and the product and what you need to have to be successful, but also knowing retailers, knowing journalists, knowing collectors, knowing it's a very special, very demanding segment where basically, and very rightful so,
yeah.
Customer expect to have everything you can have for $20, but you know, at 3,000, which is a little bit of a stretch, is very, very, very demanding. But I love it. You know, the challenge that is behind this equation and how you can deliver extreme quality, or even my recipe is over deliver compared to the price. We will speak about that, but you know, value for money is a big topic. So the fact that Bremont was in that segment immediately, started to tickle my reptilian brain.
Right.
And the third thing is it was a fantastic brand. I just had a previous experience with HYT into independence. I had the chance to get to know the independence world, which is beautiful. I really love the people, the creators and the creative people that are inside this segment, and the freedom that you have as an independent, not having a brand on the top, a brand on the bottom. You can do whatever you want. And then because I knew so well the market, I could also really grasp the incredible value that was already embedded into this one-of-a-kind story of a purely exquisitely British brand that grow in a very creative and cleverly opportunistic way through almost 20 years, finding its own community of lovers, and that for me was really important, because I could see, starting from that, where we could have brought the company to.
Well, that's an interesting point, and that's where I want to take this next, which is to say that, okay, Bremont had the ingredients, perhaps, the foundations. We'll talk about
Italian ingredients. I like it very much.
Okay.
Let's say we are cooking.
A new chef entered the kitchen. And we'll talk about brand positioning maybe in more detail in a minute, but what was the vision that got you excited about where Bremont could go? What's Bremont of the next 20 years for you?
Get ready. Essentially a very British brand made by Brits for Brits, with this idea that, in a way there were enough Brits also in other countries that could have bought the watches and bought into the brand and grown the brand, which is very nice and very romantic, but reality is there are by far not enough Brits around the world to support the growth of a brand at the international level. So despite we are proudly British and we really leverage this, I saw very well, and that's what is happening now, how much we could also tell this fantastic story with just a little bit of translation of the words and the tone of voice to make it appealing for a much wider audience, and for countries and cultures that are very fond of watches, but, they didn't know the brand. But the brand started to develop in ex-Commonwealth countries, in Australia, in Hong Kong. First run of experience in US, but not really yet in the early stage of development, and that's it. No presence in Europe, no presence in Switzerland, no presence in South America. In Asia was Hong Kong. We have since quite a long time an Hong Kong boutique with fantastic collectors and really a very strong community of people out there. But bits and pieces. So, immediately the idea was, how can we take this fantastic, proud British story and make it become international first and then global, because it really deserves to be told to everyone in the world. It really brings a very unique take on watches and watchmaking, with our connection with the military, with our crazy positive obsession for durability. And that's where we have been massively investing in the last year to improve even further.
Right.
And our connection with aviation, which is so powerful and so strong and full of passion in Britain, but there are countries that are not very much into that. So how can you connect their watch communities?
I think that's a good point. I think it's interesting to hear you talk about spreading Bremont, taking it more internationally. I think we can often underestimate here in the UK that it isn't as well known around the world. But is that a story of growth then? Is it the case that Bremont, as it goes on that journey, is going to have to become a bigger brand, a bigger company?
Absolutely, yes. The answer is yes.
Okay.
So We have been working a lot in the US. That is a fantastic market, and in a way, a very natural next market also, because everything British is really liked, because everything military is really liked, and because our positioning about adventure and exploration, about even our mantra, take it further, in a way is the expression of the American dream of the self-made man. So there is a very, very strong resonance of the brand with the US public and with US collectors. So we have really invested there. We have really connected much more the brand there, and it's skyrocketing. It's not only a story of Bremont, but it's a market that is probably the only market that is.
I think it's the market keeping us all going, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So luckily, was also already a market in which we started to see that now we could really scale up.
Right.
We have an incredible team, and the business is growing really, really well.
Can we put some numbers to that? Can we talk about potential volumes? What Bremont's position in the market should be?
Numbers, not exactly, but we are now with the UK and US that are equal, which is already quite something.
Okay.
And by next year, US will become market number one, which is, I think, very, very relevant. We are expanding. We have a boutique in New York, in Madison, that we have refreshed, that is working really well. But we are now expanding in many other countries, and really starting to have a proper capillarity, so that people that go around United States, they can find much more easily the brand in different areas. We are also working very well with cruises, and is a fantastic way of making the brand known.
Okay.
E-commerce also is working very well there. We have a lot of collaboration with the US squad in the military side, and there is a fantastic goodwill for the brand there. So US is really market number one. UK will remain market number two, and then we have been invested in India, where the brand is growing really well, and again, where there is a very natural resonance with what we are doing. We have been growing quite well in Middle East, even if for the moment it's a little bit of a complicated area. And we are now starting to open up to Europe and to other regions in Asia, which is important. So we are just opening Paris, our first point of sale in Paris next month, and in the first week of July, I will be in Tokyo to open our first point of sale in Japan, which is another fantastic market where I think there is really a lot of potential.
Okay, it sounds like you're going to be competing on a lot of fronts.
Yes, that's important. We need to get the critical mass that allows, all the investment that we have done to really, give a return.
Well, you talk about that actually, and I'd like to talk about the investment. So let's talk about Bill Ackman, Bremont's controlling owner.
Yes.
You have a close relationship with him, I know. What's he like to work with?
He's fantastic. It's really, really a super inspirational person, super energetic, super positive, typical American focus on progress and opportunities, which is a very refreshing take on the business. He is a true watch lover. He has a personal watch collection. His father had an incredible personal watch collection. And when we met the first time in his office, he told me, okay, do you have question at a certain moment of and I told him, yes, do you have a watch collection? And he said, yes, I have one. I said, but interesting. And which watches are in your watch collection? And he looked at me and he said, okay, come with me. So, okay, I'm standing up in the meeting room, following him. We go from the meeting room to the entry, to the elevator, to his car, to his house, to his apartment, to his closet, and he opens his safe and he starts to pull out watches. And we spent 2 hours speaking about watches, brand, why he bought that, what was my point of view on that. And that's it. And it was done. It was very clear for me that we had an investor that was not only there with a financial point of view, but with a fantastic passion take on things, and for him that he had in front of him someone that was truly passionate and knowledgeable, and exactly what we needed to push Bremont to the following step.
So he passed the watch geek test for you then.
Absolutely.
Right? He had the credibility there. Is he very hands-on? Is he in the business day to day?
So he's
involved?
He is, as you can imagine, very, very, very occupied with a trillion things. But yes, I see him every 3 months in our board meeting. He's always available. He's coming. Not this year, unfortunately, but every other year, coming to Watches and Wonders, staying with us the first days. He's so excited that but he also trusts me, trusts the team,
right,
and give a lot of freedom to us to draft his vision and our vision, that is bringing Bremont to the 100 million size. Definitely is something that we can do. Will it take 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? It does not depend only to us. It depends a lot also on the market situation and how things roll out. But definitely, we are heading there. And perhaps definitely also allows me to tell you something about Bremont that is. We are a very particular animal in terms of brand and in terms of company, because, as I said, we are an independent company with all the freedom, all the excitement, all the passion that an independent brand can express. But on the other side, we are a brand that has already made meaningful investment into his equipment and into his setup that makes us much more similar to bigger brands. We are the only British brand to have a proper end-to-end watch manufacturer in Britain of 3,500 square meter with more than 100 people working there, and that is already set up. We do 10,000 watches a year, but we could go up to 30,000 watches in the same place, just hiring a little bit more watchmaker and investing a little bit more. So we're already ready, set up to do. We have a number of boutiques, not only in London, but also in Hong Kong, in Melbourne, in New York. So once again, we have a reach and we have a presence that is more similar to bigger brands. So that's also something that intrigued me a lot, and that give us a lot of opportunities. Investment have been done already, and now we can really use that to leverage the growth of the company.
Sure. I mean, assuming that is what you're looking at, or perhaps just hypothetically going with me on this, what does tripling the volume look like and retaining your identity at the same time? Because if I may say so, I think that's one of the hardest challenges in the watch world right now. A lot of independents can succeed, but at a small level, they stay purposefully small. Taking an independent and scaling it into that lower end of mainstream volume manufacturing, that's very difficult, isn't it?
I don't think it's really a topic linked to brand identity, because the brand identity now is clear, is about adventure and exploration, is about taking it further, is about pushing the boundaries and being bold and being self-confident and believing in what we do, that is a fantastic message also for the new generation. For us, it's much more a question of extending our presence geographically, and telling this exactly same story and bringing this exactly same identity in Europe, where we are not. We're starting in France. I was in Italy like 2 weeks ago to meet a lot of Italian retailers, and we will start soon in Italy. We have a very meaningful discussion in Germany, in Spain. We have early discussion in Switzerland. So definitely it makes sense for all those countries where there are huge communities of watch lovers to have access to the brand. We are not present at all in South America, while we are very strong in North America and now also in the Caribbean. So it's a very logical extension, and we are already in advanced discussion in Mexico, for example, to go there. And then we have Asia, where out of our Hong Kong boutique, we are nowhere. And there are huge communities of watch lovers. So we will go in Japan now. That is really a fantastic market, very dear to my heart. It's aesthetical.
Right. Right.
sublime complexity and uniqueness. And I think the brand will resonate super well there. But then all the rest of Asia, we are not in Singapore for the moment. We are not in all Southeast Asia. We are not in China. So
You've got the world to conquer, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's more extending our presence, give accessibility to this beautiful British brand to a much wider public. And I'm sure that is resonating. Everywhere we have the opportunity to present the brand, we see that the reaction is super positive, is super excited. We're really bringing something on the market a little bit different.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the product.
Yeah.
You've obviously done quite a lot in the 3 years. You've overhauled the collections. You've introduced Terra Nova, Altitude, and this year a new Supernova, which we can talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
Do you have the product lineup you wanted? Do you have all the pieces in place, or are there still significant gaps to fill before you feel like you have the offering that you can take, as you've been saying, around the world?
I think that with 4 product lines now, we definitely have the structure that we need to grow. We don't want neither to complexify too much things. On the contrary, we have simplified because there were a little bit too many reference, too many limited edition. And
You've cut some things down, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
and we have really focused on the core business that is important, watches that you can find and refine, and they stay there, that become iconical and create a true relationship with end customer. We have done that really well. Aviation is always our DNA and our main focus. The MB Meteor is always our icon. It's super performing. I will say that the refresh of the design, the orange barrel, the stealth gray, and now the blue Royal Air Force blue dial and the time zones that we have just presented have brought back the good old days of a really successful MB, and really recognizable and iconical with the double crown, with the triptych case, with the robustness that is embedding in it. That is really growing much more than before, and the jumping hour has really become, both in terms of technical movement and both in terms of design, with a very different design, become our other icon, I would say. And once again, after the bronze that was very successful, the fact of having created a steel that is core and is available for everyone, and then the full black DLC, and now the Aventuring one, all these application of what I like to call joyful watchmaking over tool watches is working really well, is showing that, a tool watch can be fun, can be joyful, doesn't need to be only serious. And we have in the pipeline so many other incredible things that I cannot retain myself to tell you, but I need to.
You can tell us a bit. Go on.
Exactly.
Give us a tease.
Exactly.
No?
I will. But these two, complications have really become super important for the brand and stand the brand apart. And then I really believe that Supernova, adding a totally new design configuration that is integrated bracelet one, is bringing something really meaningful for the brand, and to really expand our reach into new customer. And we will present in 1 month's time a very special limited edition on Supernova that will be incredible. So stay tuned, and very British, very connected to our DNA, and very black, very dark. So natural extension.
Okay.
So I think we have what we need. We have sealant in there. In the diver part, the deep diver, the 500-meter Supermarine in ceramic, and even the one in steel are performing super well. I've definitely found their space.
Yeah.
We are expanding a little bit our military expression with a very nice capsule of a Supermarine, a Terra Nova, and an Altitude dedicated to the Army, the Royal Navy, and the Royal Air Force, with the crest of each one of them on the dial, and really a very strong military expression, a little bit like the one that we do really for the squad, but now giving the opportunity to anyone that loves the military or military design to have access to it, and will be very, very interesting. And then we are almost done. Almost.
Okay.
There are two interesting area that remains for us to be explored. One is a kind of more dressy expression of the brand, because for the moment we have reconsolidated all the tool watch, sport watch thing. And women that in reality are already buying a lot of our watches, exactly for the same reason why men used to buy, and with the same boldness, self-confidence, and virility. But how we extend to that, and stay tuned, because in September we will use the jumping hour, and we will play on sizes to.
Right.
I think we have found a fantastic way of addressing both new areas without having to redesign something to create something new. Also because we are very aware of the fact that our retailers have already a lot of brands, a lot of stock, a lot of things. We cannot continue to ask them just to make space to fill things. So a very clever extension of the existing, but I think that will be incredibly meaningful and successful. So that will be for us the beginning of an extension that potentially would bring further growth, because on average a sport brand sells 30% of its watches to women. So this is a fantastic opportunity for us to grow and to establish a relationship with other communities.
I guess on the one hand, I'm not surprised to hear you talk about dress watches, because we've been undergoing this great sort of explosion in interest in dress watches again over the last couple of years. But then I am surprised, because a Bremont dress watch isn't a concept that many of us are familiar with. As you said, your identity is still in adventure, in what we consider those classic staples of tool watch identity. Mm-hmm. What is a Bremont dress watch going to look like?
I didn't say that we are launching a Bremont dress watch. I say that we're going to extend cleverly playing on sizes and on displays, a part of the offer, and this will cover in a fantastic way customer that like more dressed up or more elegant or more occasion watches. And that will be our very own way of getting there. And again, I cannot retain myself, because I just saw the final version of all those designs, and I would like to shout this out, but it's coming, and I think it will be really, really interesting.
Okay, well, aside from wishing you could do that, mm-hmm. I will respect that you're not going to right this very minute. Davide, I'm going to say thank you very much for speaking to us. It's been very interesting to hear about your vision, your plans, your sort of attitude, I suppose, to what Bremont is going to be in the near future, and I hope to see this come to pass. I would like to ask if we have any questions from the room.
Absolutely.
That we can, for Davide, if anyone's going to be brave enough.
Fire is now or never.
Take your shot. We have a man in the third row.
Hi, Davide. You mentioned
that there is no blueprint for success in terms of a British watchmaker on a global scale. I wonder if there are any British brands in other industries that have done that successfully and that you admire, and if not looking to exactly replicate their success, might wish to instill some of their qualities.
Yes, there are many. Paul Smith have done exceptional work bringing Britishness, creativity, and quirky love for strange colors and stripes all around the world. In terms of cars, I said Morgan is an incredible brand, still small and completely independent. By the way, it has been bought by Italians, and now they are putting it. So
that's the secret.
Perhaps that's the secret. Sexiness combined with the British tradition, that could be the good way to go. And incredible British cars still, as Aston Martin are doing, are making dream people everywhere in Formula One. Orange is everywhere, even if this year a little bit less. But there are so many. I don't know. Barber, is still the icon of watch jackets, and there are so many. All the Savile Row tailors are super successful all around the world. Architects like Norman Foster, boom, like still doing incredible things around the world. And I think there is something very interesting that tickles me, and I think Bremont is really being part of this new shift of Britishness, which is traditionally Britishness is a nostalgic, looking back to tradition, prizing the value of long-lasting thing, which is very nice and beautiful, and is our story, and we all need to know our story to be capable to look at the future in a meaningful way. But I think there needs to be a very good expression for the future. How can this beautiful British theme and identity become forward-looking as much as backward-looking, and find a kind of new energy? Perhaps in architecture, architects are always, the first one that push the boundaries. This is a little bit expressed. It should and it could be expressed in so many other categories. We are trying to do with watches. Supernova, I think it's the perfect example. There's no whatsoever reference to the past, and it's all looking at the future. And vintage is still going around strongly, and I can say this because I was one of the responsible of the wave coming. But what's next? You see what I mean? And also in watches, you need also to come with something fresh and new, and something that is not in any way referring to the past and is looking to the future. I think is what the market also overall needs. And if I may, I just finished during the weekend. I was in Italy. I bought a book about the story of Prada, and I sipped it in 2 days during the weekend, and my brain just started to spin at 1,000 miles per hour, because the whole story of Prada is a story of innovation, and is a story of trying to be original. And there is this thing that is, you are never prophet in your own country. They when they launched fashion, it was not Italy that recognized what they were doing. They had to go to US to be recognized, and then when they extended Farner, it was US neither, and they need to go to Asia to do it. And when they decided to go into the stock market, they pick up the Hong Kong stock market and not the one. And I think that is a very interesting take it further. And you always need to try to challenge the status quo, to do different things, because there are so many things. And now with social media, we get all these things all together in your face that is so difficult to stand out. And to stand out, you need to do things that nobody's expecting you to do. A jumping hour, a montre guichet, using a material that nobody is expecting you to do, or hybridating codes of tool watches and kind of dress watches, or putting a Felix, a character that is running away with the number 6 and is laughing at the end of the thing, and laugh a little bit of yourself and your brand, and and your identity, and just open your mind to something different. I think this is super important. I feel that Bremont can be, together with so many other British brands, a runner of this, integration of the future into Britishness, and make it Britishness fresher. You see what I mean? More exciting, more dynamic. I think it really deserves it.
Yeah. There you have it. British modernity around the world.
Absolutely.
Let's see. We have another question here.
When you take the story of Britishness around the world, what is the expectation in international markets on the manufacturing side? Obviously, there's been a transition at Bremont away from bringing all this stuff in-house. That's changed for obvious reasons, but I'm wondering where that is in the story of how you take that British-made brand internationally.
Ale, I will be bold, because we said that we need to be bold and challenge a little bit the status quo. I think that as much as in UK there is this obsession for over-engineering, how you call it, that in reality is just over-complication that then does not allow you to scale up in terms of business and industrial premises. I think there is a little bit of a perhaps excessive obsession on the manufacturing side. In watchmaking, manufacturing is imagining a watch, designing it, prototyping, using the best component possible, selling it, exciting people about it, service and stay in contact and servicing. That's what is called manufacturing. Then if you bang the metal yourself, or if you produce your any component yourself or not, it's relatively is relative to how big you are, how global you are, how powerful you are. You see what I mean? How advanced you are in your journey. We have not at all killed our, just to be clear, it's important also, and thank you for the question, our ambition to do things internally. And you have seen that we have developed a movement, a tourbillon dual time. We are assembling the movement inside. We have developed with Agenor an incredible perpetual dual time monopusher. We are assembling it inside, and now we are doing the same thing with a flying tourbillon skeleton. So we are in reality creating the competencies and the people and the organization that will allow us then to take over again when is the good moment at that side of it. But I think that is not a prerequisite. I think that is part of Britishness, but Britishness is much more than that. What about British design? What are the code of British design? What about, British tradition? What about British culture, and which are the elements of the British culture that resonate super strongly elsewhere? And there are a lot. Every time that we speak Britishness in any country, there is interest, but just it's a little bit of an unfocused topic for the moment. And there are very different countries pick up completely. And so what is missing as of today is that it's not a label. If you say made in Germany and you do, technical engineering thing, there's no doubt that it will be perfect, pitch perfect. If you say made in Italy still, and you are in fashion, it means that in terms of, fashion design, it will be top notch. Made in England, still not is. So why don't we, and that's why we are part of the British Watchmaker Association. We participate to British Watchmaker Day and the British School, and we really militate. Why don't we work all together to define where we are focused on and specialize, so that when we say made in England, people say, okay, get it, and I don't know, is it craftsmanship? Perhaps it could be craftsmanship. You see, that is not only manufacturing in the industrial sense, but could be, Roger Smith is still doing best watches in the world, or handmade, all hand finished, he's doing an incredible thing. He's definitely a flag of Britishness in the world. So we just need to work on it, and let's, we have 10 years. In 10 years time, let's make it become proudly made in England, and people buy because they know what this is about.
Oh, let's hope. Let's see. Huh? Unless we have any further questions, I think we might be able to squeeze in one more.
Yeah.
I am going to say thank you ever so much to everyone here for coming, for listening, for your questions and your attention. And thank you so much, Davide Cerrato, for joining us. It's been a fascinating conversation.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you all.
Thank you very much. Well, over and out.
Forza Bremont.